What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Great Lakes Outdoors podcast. Me and Fonzie are sitting here today. Fonzie, how you doing?
Good, man. Happy to be back in the studio consistently.
Yeah, I know it feels good. But today we are sitting here over the phone with a special guest. And Fonzie, I'll let you do the introduction for him.
So we got one of the biggest and one of the baddest in the waterfowl industry on today, boys. We got Jeff Foiles. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
We ain't doing too bad, and even though our duck season's over now, but we're waiting for our split to open back up.
I see. Yeah, we go out the 24th, but man, our ducks are pretty much left here. It's pretty tough where I'm at right now. We had a couple really good weeks a week ago, and hadn't been too bad all year, and then all of a sudden they left, and now so I moved to the river and just shooting river ducks now, so which is not always a bad thing. So
our ducks never even showed up to like the last week up here, which is like bizarre to me. I mean, I knew they were going to show up late with how dry it's been. I don't know what the weather's like for you down there, Jeff, but for us, it's just been such a dry winter or fall for us.
Yeah, we had a dry summer, then we had one big rain, but man, one day I had an all-day bunch of, usually our hunters that we run are half-day hunters, and I had an all-day bunch one day. It's 84 degrees in the blind, you know what I mean?
Oh,
you ain't going to kill them, you know, so we just had a ton of hot weather, you know, and nothing to move anything, you know, and it just took forever for what we got to get here, you know, and
damn mosquitoes picking you up out of the blind and carrying you away.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, it was. Yeah, take the boots off and sit there with your, you know, your socks on, feet cocked up in the blind, you know.
Get your
then that sucks, you know. Nobody wants to do that, but
get your tan lotion out, you'll be all right.
But anyway, it's been okay. We run all the hunters for Heartland Lodge. You know, I've got my outfitters called Foiles Skies Outfitters, and I basically take all the ones for Harpo's Heartland Lodge and Orvis and Dorse Lodge. Have since like '97 here, and yeah, we take them. We got a lot of hunters that come in from everywhere. It's kind of cool, you know. But man, it just bothers me when we can't kill them, you know.
I get that. I mean, we had the boys this past weekend from combat. They drove up from North Carolina, and this weather's just been so goofy for us where I think it got real cold on us. We thought it was going to lock up, then warm back up, and they were feeding once a day. And, you know, it sucks having guys coming in all over the place and not, you know, getting it done. It's hunting at the end of the day, but it's tough. Mother Nature.
Yeah, but you still, they're all jacked up to be here, and
right.
And you see the weather, you see what's going on, and you're like, dang, you know, you're praying for something to, you know, you're just praying for some birds to show up, you know. But yeah, we sat out in the rain all day yesterday and saw two bunches, you know, and it's just tough. Yeah, so I hate to see that for the boys.
For the people that don't know who Jeff Foile is, can you just kind of give a background story, which I don't know how you wouldn't know who Jeff Foiles is, but just kind of the younger guys out there that are tuning in?
Well, gosh, I don't know, long story. Basically, this is my 61st year of waterfowling, and I'm 67. I started when I was 6, shot my first one when I was 6, and that kind of, you know, like everybody, started it all, and I started being an ironworker on construction at the age of 17, and did that for 25 years. But with working construction, that let me hunt in the winter, and you know, and then I started guiding, you know, and started guiding goose hunters across the country and that. And you're always looking for the better mousetrap, you know. And back then, Tim Grounds and I were the same age, but I really didn't know him till maybe 89, 90, something like that. And anyway, he come out with that half breed, and I went down to buy one. Anyway, I started selling calls for him, but I had already been guiding up in Michigan and just, you know, around here, different places here, and then in southern Illinois and Horseshoe Lake, and then I went up at Crab Orchard for years with Tim and them guys, and just across the country, really. And so you're always looking for build that better mousetrap, you know. So I knew we were all blowing flutes at the time, and it was me and Freddie Zink and the McCree boys, and God bless Alan. He just died there last year, and his brother Alan, or Gary did. And Alan, super nice guy, was one of the best callers going. Troy Dishner, Alti Lanham. There's just a ton of these guys in there, you know, and I'm missing a ton of them, but we all blew flute calls, travel across the country, and back then if you wanted in this industry in any way, you had to win some championships,
Right.
get your name, and somebody knew who you was. It's not, there was no social media, there was none of that, no cell phones, no nothing. So you kind of earned your way in, and then I just started wanting to build a better mousetrap, and I knew that at the time the only short reed around it, the first one I knew of was Knight and Hale made that double cluck, and that was the very first one I'd ever heard. And I heard it at St. Louis at a boat show and bought two of them. I started blowing a short reed from that point, and then I started blowing one in a competition. So I made a barrel and turned a barrel, and I just kept jacking with the call forever trying to do it, and then finally the short reach took off, and then 1997, I had this call made, and it whittled out guts and did whatever. Anyways, long story short, I made my first acrylic duck and goose call in 1997 or 8, and then I come out with them in 99. So this is actually our 25th anniversary.
That's awesome.
So from that point on, we won several championships, world championships, Canadian all across the country, and with the call, and so it got to be a big deal. And so I went to every store across the country and sold them, and then I immediately started videoing. And the only other one at the time that even had any videos pretty much was Robertson had a couple out at the time, and Grounds had one or two out. And so I decided to make a 2-hour video instead of a 45-minute or an hour one, and I wanted nothing but killing in it. And so that's how she started. So a few years later after that, Realtree, I was with Realtree forever, and they had contacted me about doing a video, and that's when that Fall Sky series came out. So I started doing those videos for them. So anyway, so
that's a good point that you make, and we try to talk about that all the time with the calling. That's how you made a name for yourself back in the day, the calling and not social media. Nowadays, it seems like there's so many people that are, I don't want to say fake in the industry, but don't even know the history. Nobody's talking about the roots and where it all came from anymore. It wasn't. Well,
you might not want to say it, but it's the truth.
Right.
I'll say it. It is a lot. Nowadays, I mean, you had to have some money saved up back then, and advertising wise, if you wanted to advertise, and I knew, I saw what was going on back then, and I got a hold of you, and I'm sure you boys both know who, if somebody in the waterfowl world doesn't, they need to know who Lee Jose is. You guys know,
yep.
You know what I'm talking about. Lee is probably the best graphics guy that ever hit the market, and he's, just a legend in this whole industry. And so I went to Lee and asked him about doing some ads for me, and I said, I know it's not going to be cheap, and we become real good friends. And yeah, it wasn't cheap. And he guided me the right direction, and we branded ourselves. And, I started putting full-page ads, wildfowl, and just about every waterfowl book that was out there, because that was the only thing to see at the time was books, right. And there was, like I said, there was no Facebook, internet, nothing. So basically everything was in magazines, and that's what kicked it off, basically, all the above, it all played a key part, and then when I would have somebody, win a big competition or something, I'd give them a full page ad in there, and a lot of guys got their name by that, so, it's like there was a buyer at Cabela's one time. His name was Hollis Perkins, and Hollis was an old boy that when you went in there years ago, you were scared to death to go see him, because he just looked at you like, why would I sell your product, So anyway, I come in with Hollis, said, what do you got this year? And I brought in a call. It was a Canadian classic, beautiful call. It's still a collector's item. I said, I'm going to give you this call here, blah, blah, blah. Until he goes, I don't want that. I was all jacked up. And he said, no, what else you got? Anyway, I go, well, why don't you? And he goes, I have no clue who won the world. I don't have the world duck, goose, anything. And nobody else does either unless you advertise them people. Nobody gets it. Nobody knows. They don't remember unless somebody advertises. So I learned a big lesson then, if we're going to get this out there, we got to advertise. So
that's pretty crazy.
Kind of how it all kicked off.
That's crazy. I remember when my grandfather would come home with the Knudson's magazines.
Yeah,
or the Knudson's,
I worked for Knudsen.
Oh, did you?
That's what you were.
When I was guiding in Michigan, that's where I guided at. I was Knudsen.
Out in Brooklyn area, right?
Okay.
They were they weren't the first people, but they were in waterfowl shows. They were the first. I would go do shows for them. They had every call in the world, and so I'd go sell calls for them. So
you were guiding out in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, they're in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, out that way.
Yep, that's not too far from where we're at, actually, where we do all of our hunting at.
I mean, probably about 45 to an hour tops from there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not too far. Brooklyn's just so full of water over there. All the lakes and whatnot. I mean, it holds a lot of birds.
Yeah, and there was a guy that hated goose hunters. His name is Glenn Troltz, big cattle farmer out there, and he had like a big lake by his house. It was a sanctuary. He wouldn't let nobody hunt, whatever, but it turned into a refuge basically. And there was a guy in Michigan named Sonny Jackson, which is one of Jim Knutsen's buddy. So Knutsen talked him into starting a goose club, and we had like 10, 12 pits around that. And most of the time I was up there. Several of us went up there and guided, but a lot of times it'd just be me up there guiding for years. Yeah, it was. I mean, I've been up there since NASCAR races stuff because the track's there, but man, you wouldn't believe how it's changed over the years, and where places we used to kill them in. It was just, I couldn't wait to get up there. It was kill a lot of neck collars, a lot of bands. It was just good.
That's what's crazy nowadays too. You don't even see neck collars.
No, not anymore.
No, you don't even see one. And there were so many there at the time. I would go around that refuge in the afternoon. I'd get the guys killed out and just check them out, and minor bands. You'd get a minor band out of there once in a while, and I've got several out there. But even the feds would come there with spotting scopes onto a fake rifle, stock, and just looking for them, and they'd stop me and go, "Where did you, have you seen any of them?" "Yeah, there's one here, yonder, and there. I got their numbers if you want them." But it was a cool place for a long time.
That's what's weird too. Like even bringing up like Jack Miner, like the sanctuary, we're literally 5 miles from the refuge, or like from the sanctuary.
Wow. Yeah, on the water. Because we're over here where we do our podcast from. Jeff is, I don't know if you've heard of Gibraltar, Michigan.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's where me and Kyle are both from. It's where we reside, and it's about an hour across the water, across the river.
Maybe not even.
Right.
I mean, and we hardly ever get them over there.
No,
like where we're
that's crazy.
Yeah, we never really see them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, I don't know if that west wind's got something to do with like pushing those birds away or pushing them down, because a lot of the reports, it looks like they're going like Pennsylvania. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how they all fly. But yeah, even like the call, like you were saying though, you don't even hear about anybody back in the day, like the people that obviously, like we would have never heard of them if they didn't win the championship in the calling competition. It's just, I don't know, it's weird. It's almost a sad thing for me to think about, where people don't watch like the old school videos anymore. They just, I don't know. It's just, there's so many random people popping up.
The end of DVDs was right that, when DVDs went out, and, when's the last time you ever bought a DVD or even watched one,
Right,
I mean, when they went out and YouTube's there and it's free. I mean, in all honesty, when I was filming, man, it was expensive. I had a full-time camera guy, for years and years, full-time guy that would work for me at the shop or whatever. We filmed for 5 months, and then we'd film in the off-season commercials and stuff. And the cameras were very expensive back then, and and they were tough. A cameraman back then was unbelievable. I mean, he had to read me, know what I was going to do, and knew which bird I was going to shoot, and zoom in on that bird to get that. And now they just do it on a cell phone, put it on the computer, and zoom in it yourself.
Right.
So it's such a whole different, different deal, and with it being so tough to do it, so it really limited it to the people that were dead serious about it, So,
because I think who was it? It was you, Fred Zink, and I mean, really, Phil Robertson were the only ones that came out with videos at the time, right? You guys were like the first.
There was, us guys, and then there was a guy named, I don't know if you heard this name, Ron Winnicky.
I have.
Ganderlander calls.
Yes. Yep.
He was out in Nebraska. He had one or two. Grounds had a couple. I was making one every year. Robinson was making one every year. We were about the steadies, And then there was a few HS started making some, and different ones after that. And then Freddie started making some, But really, before all that happened, the very first one I ever did was up here. I was a guy when Heartland first started. I was guiding some hunters, and they called me and said, "Look, we got a late season deal here. We've got a TV show coming in. It's Larry Zonka with Suzuki Great Outdoors. You probably remember that. You probably know who Larry Zonka is.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Not to me.
Larry Zonka in the football in the football world was Miami Dolphins, like number one freaking running back. He was fullback. You know, he was unbelievable. Larry Jonker was. He's like knowing who Terry Bradshaw was at the time. You know, he was back in that era. Well, Larry had started a TV show with Suzuki. We went up there and filmed a TV show and shot it. But that was the first TV show I was on. And then later on, it was in 1999. There was me, Freddie Zink, Dawn, his wife. I drove grounds down there, and Ron Latshaw and Catherine, his wife, had a 10x10 booth with Final Approach. All he had was a limited airline, but he wanted all of us to go because he's on his pro staff. So 10x10 booth, I walked around the thing and whatever. So, but Freddie and I, long story short, had made a deal Freddie had with Mossy Oak and whatever, and they wanted us to film Whistling Wings 5. So we went down and talked to Cuz Strickland and got the job of doing Whistling Wings 5. So most of that was done, the two of us, you know, mostly Freddie, but the two of us did that. And it was a lot of fun because we walked over to, a lot of things happened that show. We walked over to, he told us to go to Browning. He said, we'll want you shooting Browning shotguns, Winchester shells. Okay. We walked over to Browning. They gave us the first 4 or 5 Super X2s ever made, and they had hand serial numbers on them. We had to give them back, but that was the first time one of those that had been shot, you know, out on film or anything. And so we got that job of doing that, and we walked around. We were getting sponsors from everywhere because nobody was videoing, you know, and everybody thought that was cool. And so I was walking around at that same show, 1999. And no, I take that back. This was 97, I think. It was in Atlanta. SHOT Show was in Atlanta. You could look it up. But I'm walking around that show, and down the basement, I saw this guy, big old boy sitting down there, and he had an old school TV with a VCR player in it, you know, probably weighed a little bitty screen, probably weighed 300 pounds. Anyway, he's sitting there, and I'm watching this video he's playing. And he's got this flashing thing going on, and these ducks were coming into it. And so I stopped him, and I said, what is this deal? He goes, oh, that's the newest deal out there. He said, you don't even need this duck decoy on here. He said, it's called a fatal deduction. And I said, a spinning wing. I went down there 3 times. I said, would you sell me one? He goes, I ain't got very many down here, but I'd sell you one. How much are you? $200. Well, $200 in 97 was a lot of freaking money.
Yeah, it was.
Like $1,000 today.
Yeah.
Well, Grounds thought I was nuts. He laughed at me, but I went balling. It took 4 D-cell batteries. Opening day that year, I shot every duck in the lake. It was ridiculous.
That
was the beginning of that was the first one, and Robo Ducks were right there with them because those two had been partners and split. But yeah, that was when that all started. So
that's awesome. That's pretty wild.
So a lot of stuff happened at that show that year. So that was pretty cool.
That's when Paul Hinman, he was on talking about when they first started kind of getting big with the spinning wing.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, people look at you stupid, and like, why would you even have that out there? You're going to flare birds.
Yeah.
And you know, you're shooting every single bird
that's in the area, right?
It was, I mean, I had 4 pits there for Heartland. We run them hunters, and them guys laughed at me that opening morning. I put that thing out there, and honest to God, they couldn't kill a duck until I got done with that thing. We were all the same way.
That's crazy.
But you had to have a case of D-cell batteries because they didn't last long. You know, so
you got to carry that, a camera out there. That probably weighs 400 or 500 pounds just itself. It was a whole different world back then. Everything was a lot different back then. But in our area, you know, one of the things, and I know people hate when I say this, and I don't really care if I do or not, but one of the things that around here that's really hurt our duck hunting for like public hunters and people around is flooded corn. And I had it myself. I had a farm that was full of people. You saw the videos, I'm sure, but man, they've got so nocturnal in that. But back then, we didn't have that. So the ducks went out to fields and feed and all that, you know, and nobody had it. But now that's all changed. So
I could see that very much so. That makes total sense. You said nocturnal. That makes total sense. Deer. Yeah.
It's such a debate nowadays with the flooded corn or like the refuges and stuff that, you know, even like the bred people up north that are feeding the birds, you know, people are talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just, it's such a hard thing. Cause like even I remember during season when I was talking to you, Fonz, that I was like, man, it's probably not even going to be worth it. It was a full moon last night. If anything, it's going to be like the last hour of light that they're going to be flying around because they're just going to be feeding all night.
All night.
Able to see, no
you
problem.
hear them all night.
You walk out there at Point Malay there, and you're kicking up birds that were feeding all night instead of them being in the refuge.
Right.
You it's just it's a double-edged sword. It's nice to have, and it's not at the same time.
Yeah.
When there was a handful of us doing it back here, when there was a handful of us doing it, it was phenomenal. It was ridiculous. Then I got seeing, more people got doing it. Our numbers started going down. Now in the St. Louis, and it's been that way for a lot of years, in the St. Louis area, around St. Charles, Missouri, down St. Louis, from there to Hannah, Missouri, which is 60, 70 miles. But there's a 50-mile stretch of that it is solid duck clubs up through there, and they're not just one after another. They're sideways too. They're against each other. I mean, there's hundreds of them over there, and that bottom is what flooded corn at, flooded right to the ears, every one of them. There's a refuge that sits right in the middle of it. There's another refuge down from it, a smaller one called BK Leach. That's where you all see dive bomb filming now.
Okay.
Well, Cody bought the best piece of property over there, so it cuts into the refuge, and so he's got a good spot over there. But the corn, what they'll do is, and I take hunters on the river, and I bought an island right outside this big refuge that holds, used to hold 220,000 ducks. Now it's about 100. But
That's insane.
you'll sit there in the morning with all 100,000 ducks in there, and I'm looking right straight at it, and I can't even show you a duck on a normal day. And at 5 o'clock, you'll take the sky, you'll take the sun out. Just blacken the sky. They all go in there about 3 o'clock in the morning. Up they go, back in the refuge. So
that's what I mean. It's going back to the dive bomb. Is that what ranch where they just dropped that video at that we just watched the other night?
I don't know which one, but I don't know. Cody said he's got 2 of them. He said he didn't know if he's keep the 1-to-1. He's just some phenomenal, ridiculous.
It kind of looked like that one from yesterday in that video we saw.
It was all corn, but that is one thing that's nice up here, though. I mean, I got my buddy across the river here in Canada. He's got flooded corn, and then we got Point Malay, and then besides that, maybe Fred down south in Ohio there is like the only flooded corn around this area. Yeah. So it's not like
there's not a ton in our area.
Waterfowl is a big thing in Michigan, obviously, but it's not that big like compared to down the Mississippi River and having all these camps, and it's kind of a nice thing. Don't get me wrong, but then all these reports coming up with these wintering birds that are sitting way up in Canada still feeding off the grain carts that they've learned that they're carrying corn and finding this little bubbler in a pond and just staying there all year. I guess we are kind of lucky with not having overpressured people, which again, it's a good and bad thing.
That's kind of what Jeff, do you know Wade Walling?
Oh yeah, for years.
So Wade was on, and he was kind of telling us that same thing. He said, "Man, where I'm from, down in Illinois, I believe, down there on the Mississippi," he said, "Man, there's a club every 100 yards."
You said where is he at, Jeff?
He's Quincy. He's right above me.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah, he's a 45-minute drive from me.
Yeah, and he just said there's clubs every 150 yards. Man, there's a blind down the Mississippi every 100 yards.
There's clubs everywhere, but the ones I'm telling you on the Missouri side, and there's a ton of them on the Illinois side too. And like I say, I'm guilty of it myself. I had 85 acres of it flooded corn right to the ears, but tell me this, and I've asked the feds this too. So I can legally build that. I did this. I can legally build a levee and make sure that levee is to where I can manipulate my water, and I can flood 200 bushel to the acre corn, and I can go buy the right seed of corn that will be the right depth I want it and all that. And I can bring that. I had a 36-inch pump, and I can legally bring that water right up to that ear. So all that duck's got to do is come in and swim to it, right?
Yep.
He doesn't have to get in 6 inches of water and jump up and try to get it. I'm going to make it easy for him. Put it right there. Now tell me what's the difference of that than just throwing bushels of corn out there?
I mean, in reality, nothing, because you're
really nothing.
Even if it's in a field, they're just laying in a field, then walking to the corn that's laying.
Yeah.
Well, if they're letting me legally flood that corn, I had the feds ask me at one time about that. I was talking about baiting. I go, why would I bait when you legally let me hold it up where they can swim up to it instead of sinking? Anyway,
there's so many rules and regulations with that don't even make sense. Like there's so many
the gray areas, man.
It's almost one of those things where if they want to get you, they're going to get you, and it's one of those things. Like
that's for sure.
We'll sit in the blind. You can't even grab a stalk of corn to use it as brush. Like you're grabbing corn, you're touching that corn and moving it. That's technically like baiting.
Honestly, the way it is, because we brushed our pits with that with corn, I would take it down in front. Most of the time, I'd cut it right out in my hole to make my hole. Mm-hmm. But I would cut it before we pumped it, but you got to shuck every one of them. We had a big grain cart we put it in, but as long as you shucked every ear off of there, then you can bundle it and use it for cover. But you got to take that ear off of it. It's the main thing. But if you go out there and so you got all this corn laying out there, and you've got it flooded to the ears, but you go out there and you've got your dog and you knock over 4 or 5 stalks, they can get you for manipulating that corn.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, you're right. It's a gray area. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I just hope that I live long enough that one day they will say no purposely flooded crops of any kind. Once they do that, duck hunting will change for everybody.
Yeah, it will.
That's a solid.
It will for sure.
So now
then they'll go back to like Canada, Dakotas, whatever, where they have to go out and feed. So
now, what's your viewpoint towards like Michigan here? We got Fish Point, we got Harson's Island, we got Point Malay.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to those places if that were to like be a thing where there's no flooded ag?
Well, what happens to those places? What happens to them years before they ever did that? The ducks go in there. They're a wild animal at that point. They're going to come in there and they're going to go out to fields and feed somewhere.
I guess
if they ain't got it in there, they're going to find it somewhere. Kansas, for example. I go out to F5 Outfitters, north of Wichita. I'm going to go out there. There is not really any flooded crops whatsoever, no refuges, whatever. They just hit ponds and stuff, go out and feed, we kill them. It's awesome. It's natural. Kind of like Canada. You go up to Canada and they come out in the fields to feed, you kill them, it's a natural deal. You're not manipulating anything,
It's, I don't know. Even from like your perspective in the waterfowl industry, there's got to be so many different things that have changed over time, like, and just evolved and for the good and bad, I guess. Like besides like the corn being flooded and everybody doing all these like duck camps and like kind of, I guess, screwing up the migration, I guess you want to say, because
the naturality of it.
People are screwing up the migration whether they like it or not, whether it be from the solar fields or to the windmills to whatever it may be. They're kind of throwing a little curveball in there for them ducks that are used
tampering with it.
Right. What's some of the biggest things that you've seen over the years that maybe it's good or bad for the industry? Another sponsor I wanted to bring up was Gibraltar Duck Hunters Association. Whether it's from youth hunts to cleaning up the beach to dinners, anything just in the community alone, it is an amazing thing to team up with these guys, and can't speak highly enough of them. From everything that they do, it's absolutely amazing, and I highly suggest anybody out there that has a local DU or just a small association, highly suggest teaming up with those guys and giving back as much as you possibly can, because if not, who knows what the future holds. Like I said, greatly appreciate those guys letting us team up with them, and I really cannot express how excited I am for the future. But back to the podcast.
Well, Mojo's one, I would say of anything I ever seen change duck hunting in my life has been a Mojo. Good, bad, or whatever, but it's changed it. I'm good with whatever they do. They keep it going or don't, whatever they want to do. I'm good with that. I would say that's the number one thing that has, for lack of a better word, manipulated ducks. Yeah, they're getting used to it, but that's probably changed stuff more than anything I can know of. Layout blinds. Years ago there was no layout blinds. I'd say Ron Latchup, when he started Final Approach, changed the world with layout blinds. And going out in the fields and killing my layout blinds. So they had no clue what that was. So that changes a ton for goose hunting. And short reed goose call changed it I mean, it was not like the Mojo, but pretty dang close. Right. It was amazing how the first short read, I remember I blew and how they reacted to it. So, just so many things like that. There's a million things I could talk about it, but there's a ton of hunters now. I mean, back when I was a kid, you froze to death. So, when you went out, so a lot of kids didn't go, but, decoys are just like so realistic now compared to what they used to be, but,
I feel like there's a lot of things though that are going back to the way it used to be. I mean, like for me, the decoys, yeah, but everybody's got silhouettes. They're getting used to silhouettes now. Silhouettes been around a lot longer than people think they've been around.
They have no clue. I've been using silhouettes since I was a kid, and everybody in Southern Illinois or out on the Chesapeake Bay or whatever has had black and white silhouettes for. They're ancient, I mean, here we used to cut up tires and had a tire spread and paint white cheek patches and cut them in quarters, cut them with a chop saw in quarters and put them out in the field out there and looked like a giant turtle migration, but it worked. So yeah, I do got to get a kick out of this silhouette thing like it's new, and it ain't close to being new. It's easier because they're not as heavy. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
We just got done the other day. Cole and his buddies just went out and put out 600 black and white old school silhouettes, out around the perimeter, and then we'll put our real stuff around the pits. But
that's crazy.
And we'll probably add another 300 to that, and not one of them. They were all old school stuff. Now I've got a pile of dive bombs, and they're beautiful and all that. And I've got them all around another sandbar blind I've got, but yeah, this thing, I mean, a 97, 8, something like that. Me, Grounds, Freddie's Inc., all of us were in Outlaw magazine, and that's what they were, a silhouette company, and they were the first ones, them and Real Grease, the first ones that took a picture and put it on a piece of plastic, and so. Yeah, this is not a new thing. They've come a long way with it, but
that's one thing. Like my first goose hunt, I haven't been doing it for that long, probably about 9 years or so. So it's not like I grew up into it. I got my family into it, and everybody thought I was absolutely crazy for going out in the freezing cold on the river or whatever. But my first goose hunt, it was in Finger Lakes in New York over there.
Yeah, I've hunted there.
And
Chris Devanzo.
It's a magical place over there. The amount of birds, it's insane. And the first spread I got to, I remember seeing these silhouettes, and I was like, there ain't no way these birds are coming to this janky-looking old silhouette, spray painted on, whatever. And then they got these tires that are mixed in. I'm like,
yep. Mm-hmm.
What am I getting myself into over here? Yeah. And, man, we burned their butts pretty good, but it's just people, they don't simplify it enough anymore. Like they want something like the DSDs. Yeah, they're obviously great looking, like amazing looking decoys. You don't need that kind of stuff.
No.
No, you ain't got to have none of that to kill them. I'm all about silhouettes because it's easy, it's fast. You put a big numbers out quick, but I ain't going out there with just silhouettes. I'm putting out full bodies with them. I'm not going to do it. But I've had too many bad experiences with that. Yeah, you can get a pocket of dumb ones sometime when you can absolutely do that. But I've had more times than not that just try to use a silhouette spread and but I want them full bodies next to them. Right. But it's a drawing card. It's that black and white kills. I don't care what anybody said. Most of mine are black and white, and even the dive bombs I got, they got some fully flocked black and white ones. Oh my God, they're awesome.
They look good.
See them from a mile away down the river, But and the other thing everybody gets into is size. Geese don't have depth perception. Right. They ain't got a clue about that. Bigger the better for me. And I've done it day in and day out. You wouldn't believe how. Remember the old 747 shells? Have you ever seen them?
The big, the one. Are those the ones that float too?
Well, no, that's the pontoon ones. These are bigger than those.
Oh, wow.
These are huge, right, Jeff?
We float these because we put 2x4s across them, screw them to them, and float them. But they're at least 3 foot long.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're big, wide, huge. Yeah, I still use them this day, and they're the drawing card. I've hunted pits in Southern Illinois where all we had was around them was the first pit the geese went to. But
I had a small Chinaman under that one.
Yeah.
He's all peace.
Yeah. So, in that field, he's talking about black and white silhouettes. Everybody had them. And that was back in the early 90s, 92, 3, 4, something like. We had a field back there. It was 200 some acres. We had 9 pits on that field and a big lake at the bottom. And we put out 20, there was like a valley that went down this hill to this lake, and we put out 2,500 black and white silhouettes in that valley, just a drawing cord. And every pit, except one, had 10 dozen Bigfoots on them. And then down on the other one down there, and I hunted it several times, that was nothing but these 747s. We floated them, put them around there. The geese would key, the migrators would key to that black and white thing. A lot of them would light in there. First ones that would light would usually be them big ones down there, them big 747s, and then they start lighting around. And when they got all bunches hit all the pits, then we call shot and on old coal miner phones and kill them. But yeah, there's a lot of history to the to all that goose hunting that nobody even has a clue, and the work it went into it was just crazy.
That's one thing that is kind of like even crazy too with like the layout blinds. People say that the layout blinds are just like getting like the geese are adapting to it, I guess you want to say. Or
right.
Like my biggest thing is I'm not a fan of silhouettes like at all, to be honest. Like I got black and white full bodies, and I mean, granted, we're lucky enough to be able to get into the fields, whether it's a four-wheeler or drive in there, so it's some people don't have that opportunity to do that. But silhouettes, I feel like nowadays they're seeing them, and this is like my whole, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like my state, like a case. This is the reason why is all the way up for us anyways to the first ag in Michigan, and even above that in Canada, they're seeing silhouettes all the way down.
Oh yeah, everybody does. Like I start off in by Ogdensburg, New York, up there with Basswood Lodge, and those boys use them. And but they use full bodies also, but they'll have silhouettes, and all that. But it starts there, it runs all the way down. In Canada, it's so easy for guys to get a small trailer and throw 25 dozen in the back of their truck,
Right.
That, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you're right. They see them from one end of the world to the other anymore.
I mean, if I could throw a dozen full body geese out compared to, 10 dozen, let's say, silhouettes, I feel like I would have a better chance of killing them over a dozen full bodies, walking them out there, making it look realistic with just maybe 2 pods of family groups or something, a good hide and good calling. I don't know. I just feel like and here's the problem too with my silhouettes. I don't have enough like history with them to be confident in them as well. Like I
just use them enough type deal.
Yeah, I don't feel confident, and I feel like goose hunting and duck hunting, I mean, confidence is like one of the biggest things to have. Like you want to feel confident with what you're doing. You're not wanting to go out there and trying something new is good, but you feel very weird all hunt until it actually like happens, I guess. I don't know. We only have.
Yeah, it's just, I just always like to use their drawing card. They're quick numbers. If you're in a traffic situation, you can't beat them, because you can put a big spread out fast.
Traffic's good.
And, a traffic hunt or something, or if you want to, I put them all upwind, usually they're all upwind from me somewhere, so just a drawing card, put my good stuff right where I want in the killing hole,
Right.
So, yeah, it's, but I do think they're awesome, for a drawing card, and for a real fast thing. Hide the blind's good, if you're in a layout blind or whatever. But main thing with all that is, I think, is most people just don't hide good. If you're going to use a layout blind, like you say, getting used to them, you're going to have to dig them things down. You're going to have to be in a field where they ain't going to see. I covered some up in Kansas last year that were just covered up as good as you could possibly do it with geese and ducks been feeding in this field for 2 weeks. And they get in there and almost get there, and out they go. They got it figured out. They do not like that like they used to. I killed thousands up, out of layout blinds, but it's funny how you can put I just wonder what's going to happen to A-frames. Everybody's using A-frames. One of these days they're going to get used to that. Brush pile in the middle of the field, but amazes me how you can still do it and kill them over.
Kind of wonder, like, we kind of had a situation like that last weekend with the combat guys that come up. We had 6,000-7,000 ducks and geese in their face, and they would hit this spot in the field, man, this one spot at the top right corner, and they would just boogie out. They wouldn't boogie out or flare, but they would just quarter away from you, come back around, hit that spot, quarter away from, and they just never seemed like they wanted to put down.
In my opinion, the way that we were set up, we have this ditch blind, Jeff, where the ditch has a little bit of an S in it, and we have, I think they're like 4x4 or 6x6s laying down, and we built this blind, we put it on there, so we're right in the middle of this ditch. Well, right at the S, we had to flip the tops of the blinds around, and the S was kind of cutting us off a little bit. And in my opinion, when you get so many decoys out there, you can't really make it look natural, and maybe that ditch had something to do with it, and you couldn't get them off of that ditch the way that we were looking. People say bigger numbers later in the year. I almost feel like nowadays it's going back the other way, where you don't really always need that. You just need that confidence. The birds have been shot at so much all the way down.
Yeah.
Just be confident with it all, and I think maybe that's where we kind of messed up a little bit with throwing, 15, 20 dozen full bodies out there like we did. It's just, I don't know. It gets tough.
I think it's a lot according to where you're at, what part of the country you're in, what field you're in, whatever. If there's been out, I know like Braidwood Lake up there, you go up there and the boys up there, if you go up there and you got a small spread, it's tough to kill them. I mean, you got to have something big. When they come out in big numbers. Southern Illinois was the same thing. But one time in Southern Illinois, there was 150, 200,000 hawkers on Horseshoe Lake, maybe more. They were everywhere. And they come out all day long, 90 yards over your head, go out to feed out that, and you could not stop one. Me and a buddy of mine went in a field that was a private field away from all the clubs, that we were guiding on. Went out there one evening, and we took two Bigfoots and stood at the end of the timber and shot our limit and menace. So you
never
can't
know.
Quit trying. Different stuff works,
Yeah.
Just one
I
of
think
those,
we, as hunters, get two. I do it myself. You get two programmed to where you're at and your spread and what you're doing. You don't change it up much, So it's just, I don't know, we call it laziness or what. It worked last week, so it's going to work this week. Well, it doesn't always do that if you're hunting the same birds, But,
Right.
just being content with what you got in front of you. I mean, that's it. You feel comfortable, and you don't want to change nothing up.
Get complacent.
Yeah, and it's really, really hard to overcall it, and most everybody does, So
I'll say one thing that you had a good point on. A lot of people, even that day when we hunted, a lot of people automatically go to like the spread or the calling, whatever it may be. Maybe it is just the hide that like someone's sticking their face up. Like there's so much more simple things that people overlook. That like it could be
the
like
hide's the biggest part, I think.
Right.
You got to get on the X. I want on that X. And I don't want off the X. I want on the X. Why would I want to be 100 yards off of it? Now, I want to be right where they're at. Right. I want to make them feel comfortable. I want to be right there to start with. I want to be on that X to start. And another thing, when you're hunting like areas like you're hunting in, when you're putting out, you're hunting that ditch or you're hunting in layout blinds, you're kind of, I talk about this in seminars on it. What's the first thing you think about, is where's the wind come from, right?
Yep.
Do you ever think about the sun, where the sun's going to come up? Is the sun going to come out today or not? Are you going to use the sun for anything? You can use the sun to your advantage as much as anything. If that sun's in your eyes, I learned a lot about this is from camera lenses being hit by the sun, and flaring geese. But work that or your spread around with the wind, but work it with the sun. So you don't have to have them belly up in your face. You can shoot them right to left and kill them just as good, if not better. Use that sun to your advantage and think about at 10 o'clock in the morning where that sun's going to be. It's going to be coming around to the south down there. If you got a north wind, put your back to the east, look to the west, and shoot them straight in front of you coming into the north. Takes your eyes off of them. You ain't got the sun involved here. It's not hitting your gun barrels, not hitting your white face. You know what I'm saying? So, people don't think about that either, And, another thing I see is that, like, especially in Canada, a different place, like they run out to a field, take a truck and trailer and run out in that field out there. Like you said, you'll be able to drive upwind. Everybody wants to go and park a trailer in the hole. Well, you just put junk in the hole, mash everything, from up above. It looks different at a bird's eye view than it does what we're looking at from 5-6 foot. You mash down everything there. You made tire tracks, and this wasn't there yesterday. The only thing we can do by being in that field, if they're going there every day, is screw it up.
Right. And
that's if you simplify it, that's literally what it is. It's just we're doing is tainting it a little bit more and more from what they saw all day yesterday or the weeks that they were in there.
I mean, that's one thing with like, I would rather do a cross shoot than them decoying right in front of us. And
I would any day. Yeah.
I think I've talked to you, Fonz, about it multiple times where, I do pay attention to the sun because even like the shadows, like we use A-frame, so you got to think about the shadows all the time, like, reflecting off, and I wasn't there yesterday, so why is there a big shadow in the middle of the field now?
Right.
This year I even did like a quartering away kind of a couple times. I think I did that where we threw the decoys 90, 100 yards out in front of us because the wind was in our face and another permanent blind of ours. So they were decoying, we were shooting them, like I said, quartering away. They had no idea we were even there. But the thing is, like, the calling aspect of it, like, you can't be calling and hammering on these birds when they're right above you and you got no decoys even around you. Like, who's calling in that brush pile right there?
Who's calling?
It's just simple stuff like that people overlook. And I think that, if more people thought that way and just really broke it down piece by piece.
It's also got a lot to do with, when you set up your blind, I get a kick out of it. When you set up your blind, I'm pretty adamant about where that caller is going to be.
Right.
Where I'm going to be. Let's just say you set up in that situation. So you set up in a situation where you've got the sun. You got sun at your back now, right? And now you're going to shoot these things sideways. You're going to shoot them right in front of you, going to a north wind. And you're going to put 5 layout blinds there. And you're going to make, like, what I'll do is make a big, like, I call it a bent J hook. If you tell somebody to put them out in a J hook, they'll have them too tight in there.
Right.
Bend them things around, making that wad, make them come into that. Okay, so in this situation, you got 5 layout blinds going from south to north, and your spreads up here to the right. Where are you going to put your best caller?
Right, as far back into the hole as I possibly can.
Yeah.
I'm going to put him at the far towards that decoy, as far north as I can, because the birds are going into the wind, right? They're coming from the left to the right. I want him the far right for 2 reasons. Right.
To get those birds all the way into the hole
closest
in
to
front
the
of everybody, because if you've got them on the outside, they'd be laying on
the far end. They're going to come to that end.
Yeah.
The other part of that is he's the guy that probably should be calling the shot, right?
Right.
Because he's the caller. Where do you think he's going to call the shot at? He's going to call it in front of him. You know what I'm saying? So put him to the far right. And that's the other thing people don't do so many times is they don't say before, as men, we duck and goose are, we usually got a pretty big ego. Well, put the ego in your pocket and go, okay, he's a better caller than I am. We're going to let him call the shot. And let somebody before the deal somebody's going to call the shot, right? But so many people don't do that. And the birds get in there and they're all over you. And why didn't we shoot them? I don't know. I thought you were calling a shot. I don't know. There's on your end, Happens all the time. So
yeah. That is one thing.
There's a lot more little things that a guy can do to help himself. Just as, like you said earlier, small things. Small things is usually the simple things, usually what kills them.
I mean, I don't know if you've realized this, Fonz. Like, I try to do that when we're out. Like, I'll try to get myself far back into the pocket compared to one side of the. Yeah, we got the dogs, we got to run, but I like to be on the far side in because just like what Jeff was saying, like to get those birds in front and work all the way across, they're going to come to that call more than the birds. And that's what people think that I'm crazy for throwing those decoys way out there.
Yeah.
If you throw a little bit of a trickle here all the way into a big pod and the calling's coming from a big pod of them, they're going to work all the way down that side. Right. In theory, I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that, again, people just need to break down and
don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. They just think that it's jump out in the field and kill. It's not that at all. That's how you separate good and bad. Yeah, that's for sure.
So Jeff, on your hunts and stuff, or when you're with your son and your field crew, like, are you the guy that's always calling the shot, or do you have like trust in your other guys if you're throwing them down to that side that they'll call the shot?
90% of the time, like if I'm guiding somewhere, I will. But if it's my son and I's hunting together a lot, either one of us will, according to whose end they are on or whatever. And, either I don't care. I'll call it from my end. He'll call it his. We're pretty good at working. We've done hunted together so much. We're good at doing that. So
that's good.
But
it does get tricky.
You got to have some experience that you've hunted with, whatever. You know what's going to happen.
Right.
And then with guiding, you actually got to let everybody else know where they're at. And
right.
So, I mean, our numbers would be triple if we could just shoot half the time,
Yeah.
You can say that one again.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a couple of times where me and Fonzie just look at each other at the end of the volley, and it's like, wait, we only got one out of that? Like,
yeah.
Those birds were in our face. What are we talking about?
A lot of people around our area, they think we guide just because kind of the numbers that we do and then the areas we have to hunt, but we're just friends and family and weekend warriors, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I could definitely see, like, with the guiding aspect, you got to be the one telling people where to sit, telling people when to shoot, and a lot of the times they're coming to you to kill birds because they don't really hunt as much, and they don't have the shooting ability as us. So
I get a big kick out of everybody wants to be a guide, and I always did, and I've enjoyed it all my life and all that, but nobody has an idea what you give up being a guide. You give up getting that first shot. You're shooting flare shots all the time. You give up hunting with your buddies who everybody's going to come up and rain them out. It's when I filmed, I had to have all good shooters, or the footage not going to do it. But man, when you get away from that and you're just guiding every day, and most guys are just coming on a weekend trip or something, or hey, I think sit around the office and say that'd be fun. Have a corporate duck hunt. Let's just go on one, with no idea you're putting their guns together for them. So,
that's insane.
And you got 40 mallards eating you up, and you knock one or two off, and you're chasing them, or dogs chasing around you. So
yeah,
it's a whole different ball game than what most people think, and they're thinking, "Oh, this is so fun. I want to be a guide. I want to be a guide." Well, it ain't always all it's cracked up to be.
You do give up a lot. I kind of noticed that last year when I went to Prim with those guys down there with the Walcotts for the first time, and talking with his son Hawkins. He's like, man, he's like, sometimes towards the end of the season there, he's like, I just kind of I would love to hunt with my buddies. He's like, but you're running a business.
You absolutely do. You absolutely do. 100%. Yeah. You absolutely would love to do that, but like right now I'm right to the end and I'm thinking, man, I'm going to travel somewhere and hunt with my buddy. I'm done.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that's just the hardest part though. It's just, it's a good time taking the new guys out or whatever, but it's nerve wracking. One, you don't really have like the same.
Safety's a big thing you got to worry about all the time.
Yeah, I mean these guys might be coming
watching
out.
Guns all the time, and you're scared to death. People shoot you lose like me. I can't hear enough. I mean, I'm terrible. You got hearing aids, everything else, and that's what it's from. This idiots shooting over your head because they're. And I will say when they do it, they're an idiot because they're a game hog.
Right.
But it'll put you like I had a kid here 2 weeks ago. Shot right over my head with a short barrel 20 gauge and put me to the floor, and my ears were bleeding.
Oh, man.
I mean, shit happens like that with it. I mean, it's just, and most people, I get the kid, but most people do that are just game hogs. They can't stand that you're going to get a bird and they can't do it. So we have this big talk in the morning about that. Do not shoot. You're shooting 10 to 2. That's it. Don't shoot over your buddy's head.
Right.
Bad as you want to.
Yeah, so. I mean, we'll do that once in a while where, most of the time we're hunting with the same group of guys, so we all kind of know how we're all hunting and whatnot. But like we had, when Mark from Migra came in, I had a little bit of a talk because we had a few more people than normal and guys that we don't hunt with normally. And the gun safety and knowing your lanes, and I know it's going to be exciting, but just relax. There's going to be another volley. You're going to get another shot at it. It's I don't know. It's a bad thing. Like people get into so many bad habits nowadays. There's no fundamental. I feel like on newer
like
guys coming in. Yeah,
it's absolutely not like it used to be.
And like
and I don't want to sound old school on this podcast, but I guess I am. But there's just so
not
much
at all.
that's been forgotten.
Here's the thing.
That's
though,
how we were raised. Me and Kyle, the same way. By guys like you that have been hunting a long time and doing the sport a long time, and that's just kind of. It's got to be passed on, in my opinion.
I mean, the old school way is why we're at today. I feel like, there are some good things that come about today's stuff, like with the YouTube, but there's not like, this is what we do for the podcast. We try to teach people these things so that like we can get better and better at this waterfowl industry as a whole, not just ourselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a, and I know the old timers probably used to say the same thing about us, but man, it's a whole different world right now.
It's a whole different world. Different world.
It is a 100% whole different world. It's crazy. And it's when people don't pay attention. I think, how do I put this? I'll give you an example. This is my 25th year doing this. This is probably my 30th some year being on the road, selling calls, doing whatever, made videos and 25 different videos, TV shows and all that there. And it amazes me how the kids, some of the young guys, I call them kids, some of the young guys are so out of tune with the history of this sport. You know, they just have no clue. Like, it'll just kill me. I'll be at a show, you know, and 90% of them goes, "Hey, what's up, Foiles? You know, and all this here, you know," or right north, or some of them will come up and go, "Where are you guys from?"
Right.
You're like, okay, all right. And I'm not saying we're anything, you know, but nobody has a clue about the history anymore. I don't think they care. Probably, but
It's a sad thing, though, honestly.
They're so far removed from all the history, you know?
it is. It is. It's like way far removed. It really is.
TikTok and Instagram, I feel like, doesn't give you the history that you just had to kind of grow up in, or that if, you know, your dad was into it. But I think that's a lot of the waterfowl industry now, is it's a lot of people, I feel like it's almost become a trend over COVID. I feel like it became like a TikTok trend to be a waterfowl hunter, and it's...
What was that whole Duck Dynasty?
Well, the difference is you can be... You want to be now. You can be a waterfowl hunter overnight if you want to.
Yeah, literally.
You sit on the couch and make yourself one.
Yeah,
right. That's exactly right. You can.
I mean,
it's sad, but yeah, it's the truth.
I mean, I don't know how to get back to that, though. You know what I mean? Because
I don't know. I don't know if it will. You know, I don't know if it's education. I don't know what it is. But
you could talk about this all you want and get some of the biggest guys in the industry on to talk about, or wherever, right? But people still got to have the want to learn about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they want to listen to that podcast. They want to, like, watch that video.
They got to learn. And I think some people are just bored with us old guys, probably. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear an old guy talk. You know, I think that's a lot of it. I really do. I think it's a big part of it.
Which is crazy to me.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was just going to say
that's
crazy.
But I think it's the truth, you know?
I could sit there and talk with you guys more than I could talk with people our own age for fucking hours on end, compared to talking with people our age that don't know half the shit. I mean, I'd sit there like a kid in front of a fireplace, like Santa's reading a book. You know what I mean?
But there's a lot of truth to that. You know,
I don't know. That's why.
Talking about the old days,
it just gets me as how for example, you talked about this a little bit earlier. So these waterfowl shows years ago, and all the different shows we go to, and all that, years ago was a whole different ballgame, and the internet killed a lot of it. You know, because now you can just go online, order what you want. I get that. So why go to that show? You don't spend your day and do all this. I'll just go online and get it. Well, you get to touch and feel and talk to the people and all that at the show. But it used to be there would be, I don't know, 4 or 5 of us guys out there would go to shows. You'd see them, you know, at the different shows. Now, every show I go to, I'm like, who's this guy? Where'd he come from? You know, and I just saw, and I won't say who it was. He's pretty big name in the industry, but anyway, he was online, and he doesn't sell calls, but he was at a show here just the other day, and I saw it on Facebook, and he's going, "What is the deal with these waterfowlers who make calls and they're terrible blowing them?" There's a lot of that. They can't even blow them half the time, you know, and. You know, I'm not beating up a new generation coming in and trying to do something new. Absolutely, I'm all about that.
How do you sell a call that you don't even know how to blow it?
That blows my mind.
And
that's what he was saying, you know. And I just started laughing because I've been through this and seen this, you know. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. You know?
It's funny that you brought that up though, because we know some people that are like that, and it's just you kind of sit back and you scratch your head and you just slowly walk away because you don't even want to be a part of that situation.
No, man.
It's just like, man, I'm good. You know,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Speaking of shows, you've been to Point Moulet, haven't you, before?
Oh, I did it for years. Blowed the contest there. Yeah, I've done all. Yeah, I went there for years.
You know Bob Whitwam, Jeff?
Bob who?
Whitwam. He runs Point Moulet, and
his dad, Dick
Whitwam. He's an artist. He's a waterfowl artist. They're pretty big guys in our area. They run
that sounds familiar, but I haven't been up there for years. Used to, and in all honesty, that was the first show I took my straight meat honker at.
Really?
Yeah, it was Freddie and I. Freddie and I used to have a booth, and Freddie had a little catalog, but him and I would go to these shows, and we would sell a lot of stuff for grounds. But we'd also sell final approach. We did that for years. And then when I was the first show when I had my call, I brought them out there, and I think we sold 25 straight meat honkers at $150 a piece at that show. Now that's been like 99 or something.
That's a lot of money back then too.
Oh yeah,
that was a lot of money back then. I've went up a whole $10 since then.
yeah, right.
That's what. So we just got involved with Point Mule. For me, it was probably 2 years ago now, and then with Fonzie just moving back this past year, you know, the festival really died down big time after COVID, and you know, we're trying to get back involved with it and get more people involved to try to kind of really bring it back up to where it used to be, because it used to be the place to be for everybody.
Oh, it was packed. And then I'll be honest with you, and I'm not beating it up, but last time I was there, well, I used to go there when I first went there. I went up there. I would be guiding for in September or whatever for Knutson's, and I'd go up there and work that show for them, sell calls for them. So, yeah, that was the first time I went blowing a contest, and I go work the booth for them. But back then it was really cool. And then the last time I was there, it kind of turned into a yard sale. And then it, you know, and then I don't know if it was what it's like now, but
we kind of took it upon ourselves because me and Kyle, you know, born and raised in this area, we grew up going to that show. I grew up going to that show since I was 8 years old with my grandfather. And our buddy Chris, who does the social media now for Point Mule, they never had social media, so we brought Chris on, who's doing all that stuff now, and me and Kyle have connects in the industry where we're really trying to build it up to what it was. And I think last year was the best year they said they've seen in the past, 4 or 5 years. I mean,
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Pretty packed. And all we're going to do now in the summertime is really dedicate our time to trying to make that festival what it was.
Awesome.
I mean, the big thing is, yeah, you're 100% right, and you're not down talking it at all by saying it was
everyone says that
flea market.
Yeah, yard sale. That's what we call it.
Like, you can't sell nothing, or they don't have Facebook, so they're going to take it there and try to sell something there. And it's like nobody wants to go there and see that. They want to go there, and for us, it sucks because it's in September, so it's our early season. I wish they would go August, because by the time September rolls around, you already have what you need. That's the biggest thing, and all the guide services that could go up there. They're working. They're making money. This is their time to make money. It just it's hard. I mean, we're step by step. You know, it's a process, but as long as there's progression every year, I mean, we're
doing our job
in the right direction.
When is that show now?
Usually it's a second weekend of September. I think this past year,
that's what I thought. Yeah,
it was like the 15th of September.
We're really working on getting those dates moved back to like August, because the weather isn't that different at all. It's not different at all from August to September. And, you know, you got guides that are missing out on that show and that are not coming because they're guiding that time of year. And everybody's kind of getting into the full swing of it that time of year. So we're trying to get it pushed back to August.
Cool.
Maybe we could get you up here.
The only thing with August is I'll tell you guys, I'll be totally. These shows are just August is filled.
Yeah.
I mean, the first weekend, Rogers has their deal. Okay. And the second weekend is usually Presley's there in Illinois will have something, but that's next 2 weekend is Game Fair. 2 weekends of that in Minnesota. Everybody's there, you know. Then the third weekend, Wisconsin has that.
Oshkosh, yeah.
Oshkosh deal. So, man, you're trying to go against the grain. So I don't think for me, I would probably rather it was in September.
Really?
Now, it's got to be in July. July's a good month. You know, the end of July. I like July anymore, but because the biggest show going right now is Dive Bomb Show. Yeah. You know, I mean, my God, that's a great show. And that's like second, third week. And then Delta Waterfowl's got one the week after that. You know, so which once you get to that halfway in July to the end of August, she's pretty filled, you know. So
that's a good point. I don't look at it that way.
I think we're really going to start with our brand here with Great Lakes Outdoors, our merchandise and stuff, and the podcast. I think we're really going to look into starting to do some more of these shows and get our name out there.
Get more out to these shows, and you know, we work with Glenn from GK over here in Michigan, and you know, even traveling with those guys and stuff, and I don't know, just getting out there and making more presence. Geez, old Pete stuttered there for. Never mind, but yeah, it was just trying to get out to shows and showing
more
our
of a
face
presence
more.
out there, and just kind of, you know, get our name out there a little bit more and see if people want to follow along with our journey.
Sure, that's awesome.
One thing I wanted to ask you too, Jeff. Turkeys, man. I see you going after the old long beards.
I'm freaking ate up with it.
Me too.
To say the least, yeah.
I would rather go after turkeys, and maybe this is a far fetch from you, but I love turkeys more than waterfowl some days.
Yeah,
man.
I don't understand.
It's just a good thing. Cole and I talk about this all the time. It's a really good thing that they're in 2 different times of the year.
Yeah, 100%.
That's for sure.
If it wasn't, it'd be a tough one.
It's just that one-on-one, man. Them birds gobbling. I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough.
I killed my second one with Kyle last year.
That's cool.
And it was he did it perfect, man. It was the whole show. I got the whole show, and now I'm hooked.
He's spitting, drumming.
That's awesome.
But I can't say I'd give it up over a banger mallard in Canada hunt. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, but the good thing is you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do that.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
You do not have to do that. So you don't have to worry about that. So that's cool. But I don't know. I did I think it's the 5th time I've done the slam where you kill the 4 in the state. And so I did my 2 Osceolas this year, and then I come back here and killed 3 Easterns, and I went to way western Nebraska out there and killed Merriam, and then went down to Oklahoma and killed a Rio. That's a fun trip. But
what's your favorite to go after?
The funnest one, I think.
Okay,
so
the Eastern you said was the funnest.
Yeah, like I'll go to. I love Florida, and I'm down there a lot anyway. So I've hunted Florida forever. The Osceolas, they're real quiet. They don't say a whole lot. But I've been. Then you'll get on a hunt where they'll gobble their head off, but they're not real loud. They're not loud like an Eastern is, and I kind of feel the Merriam and the Rio's kind of the same way, They'll gobble, but I just don't think they're as exciting as the Easterns are.
Because they get those the blacks down there in Florida as well, don't they?
No, the only one down there really. Now, if you get in northern, you're killing Osceolas all the way to the end of the state, and then you get up around the Panhandle, or up the Florida Georgia line area. You start getting up there, and then you could get some that are mixed bred with Easterns in that area.
Okay.
But yeah, they're all Osceolas down there.
But like the ones in northern Florida, like they're real dark though, right? I mean,
well, they're probably mixed. They're
right,
mixed with the Eastern, so they are. They look more like an Eastern than they do.
Now, how are those Marians chasing those? Because I heard they gobble pretty much at anything. I mean, any turkey will gobble at anything at certain times of year. But I heard the Marians are pretty fun to chase too, though.
They are. I chased one from same one that this year from first daylight in the morning until I finally killed him at 10 till 6 at night. So they can put you on a deal like that, but he was with some other birds.
I was gonna say, I feel like the one downside of those Marians is they always seem like they're grouped up in like 50, 60 birds. Like there's a ton in every flock, it seems like.
Oh yeah, but I feel like a Rio and a Merriam's way easier to kill than the others, but if you're in the right spot.
Right, I've heard that too, and that's the thing where people, I try to get out. Like I took out, I think close to 15 people last year turkey hunting, and I think we shot. I think I got 13 last year.
Yeah,
something like
12
that,
or 13,
something like that.
Yep.
And it's fun. I try to get new people out there to actually experience it because people are always like, "Oh, I've heard a turkey gobble. I've heard this. I've heard that." You haven't heard an Eastern on a ridgetop hammered in your face, man.
That's right.
Yeah, it's different shit. It hits you in your soul.
Yeah, it's a whole different deal. Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
you feel it down in your toe hair. Yeah, that's what I always say. Like
you do. Absolutely do.
Wicked, man.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, Cole and I both just ate up with it. I mean, I'm going every day, and I kill mine out. I'm looking for somebody that's got a tag that needs to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm ate up with it. I love it.
I think I took
a lot of fun, man.
4 weeks off last year.
Yeah.
For turkey season.
Yeah, that's right. When I was moving home from Wisconsin, dude, you were off work for like a month and a half.
And I
didn't even know like if you worked or not.
I was roosting birds every night. I was scouting them every morning. I mean, I want to, I don't know. There's like a thing for me where I just love the chase of them stupid things. Like finding them at night, roosting them up, getting them to gobble, locating them, setting up on them in the morning. It's just
it's every part of it.
It's a whole game.
I don't know.
It's a whole game between you and that bird, man.
And I will say that Fox and the Colonel, that is one of the best, I guess, short films you want to say. It's not really a short film. It's like an hour and a half long, but one of the best
documentaries
that you could watch. I don't know if you've seen that, Jeff, but it is awesome. It's Mossy Oak just posted it. I think it was last spring. Like the fox, like the camo mossy oak has out there.
Mm-hmm.
They do like a whole documentary of him and the Colonel, and it's Tom Kelly's on
cool.
there.
Oh, I heard about it, but I never saw it. I need to YouTube it and watch that.
Yeah, the 10th Legion and all that. It's awesome. You won't regret watching that. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. I will look at it.
Got anything else, Fonz?
No, I mean anything next in the ventures for Foiles Migrators or anything in the calls, anything coming up?
I've been working on it all year, and it's getting ready to come out. We got our first straight meat honker to come out. Was a press fit instead of an O-ring fit, and I've got 225th anniversary models that will all be numbered like the old call and exactly look like the old colors, not the new colors today. Those are coming out pretty quick. Our meat cutter flute that we've had forever, acrylic flute, we're working on them right now. Everybody's wanting them. We're trying to get back to that and get some of those coming out. There's a lot of shows getting ready to, to start, but show season getting ready to start. But yeah, so we got a busy year planned. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome, man. Good.
Yeah. So
exciting.
And then I'm like I said, I've been doing this for 61 years, waterfowl, and anytime you do something 61 years, you get a little tired of it.
Oh, I bet. I mean, anything I feel like that long a time get monotonous.
I love meeting the people and all that, but, I'm slowing down more all the time and trying to get cold more into it. So I'd say it won't be too many years. You'll see most of the time you're going to be seeing him around doing all this. So
I got you.
Dad's going to go relax and come back and hunt a little bit.
Yeah, right.
That's got to be an awesome thing, though, too, having your boy take over the company and carry on the old legacy for you.
Yeah, because I don't know, and I'm not saying this is bragging or anything else, but there's not any of us old school boys are left around anymore.
No.
I'm about the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, the last of the Mohicans.
So I'm going to have some fun with it. So
yeah.
But anyway,
definitely a pioneer,
It's been a great journey and a lot of fun, and I've met some just incredible people, and and guiding. I mean, you meet a lot of people on the road and stuff, but man, guiding and stuff, you meet so many cool people, and different things. I would miss that if I didn't do it all the time, but.
I'm sure there's some good, bad, and ugly stories that you could be.
Yeah, I bet you,
exactly.
I bet you got some good stories about old Rick Noble over there, huh, Jeff?
Oh yeah. He was over here. Yeah, he was just down here. I don't know, a week or two ago, something like that.
Was he?
Here a lot.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Well, you good, Fonz?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for coming on, Jeff.
No problem, guys.
Great to have you, man. Great to hear from you on the podcast, and just have our viewers. It's definitely a special podcast for us, and good luck the rest of the year. And if you need anything, let me know, man.
It was a pleasure.
If anybody needs to look us up or anything, we're at www.foilesmigrators.com, or our phone number's on the website, and they give us a call, and our cell phone's open all the time, if you're going to call Cole or I, and anything you need, just give us a holler.
I appreciate that, Jeff, and it was sure a pleasure just getting to know you over this last, hour, 15 minutes or so, and honestly, I'd love to have you back on, too. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of stories and untold stuff that...
Oh, I got a lot of good stories.
Oh, we'd love to hear them, man.
I'd like to break down, and it might be good for the new guys coming in to be able to hear and learn.
Sure.
So I'd love to have you back on, and I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us and getting to know you a little more.
That's right. Okay, well, guys, you guys have a great Christmas, and everybody out there have a great Christmas, and happy, safe holidays, and God bless you all.
God bless you, Jeff. We'll see you.
Okay. We'll see you, man.
See you guys. Bye-bye.